Kentucky, Tennessee. Colin is antsy for this one because he knows he's got Georgia 13 days away. I have not done the math on that. That's not close. He's got him 2 weeks away. This is the 118th meeting all time between these two. Tennessee with the decisive edge. This is a 7 Eastern time kickoff on ESPN. This game was 45-42 last year. Do you realize that? Now some things have changed. Kentucky is minus one very, very big playmaker that they had last year, but Will Levis in this game last year was 31 of 49. Yes, that Will Levis. 31 of 49, 372 yards. Chris Rodriguez on this team that hadn't been able to run the ball this year, although they have been getting better. 22 carries for 109 yards. So, hey, if you were to give me those numbers Saturday night, we would start mentioning the U word, upset. This line's only 12.5. It's not 3 or 4 touchdowns, and it's in Neyland. So why isn't this line higher? It's what I've been asked a lot this week. Why is Tennessee, quote-unquote, only favored by 12.5? Well, number one, that's a high number, first off, because the other team's coming off a bye, by the way. And secondly, they do have a trip to Georgia coming up next week. That's a factor. This is a good old-fashioned look-ahead game. They wouldn't admit that, but I will for them. This is a look-ahead spot. So you cannot afford to take these spots lightly. Which style takes over the game early? Anytime you have contrasting styles, you always, about midway or the latter portion of the first quarter, start to realize one side is having their way when it comes to the overall flow of the game. And these are going to be starkly contrasting styles. Tennessee runs the 5th most plays per minute in college football. Kentucky runs the fewest per minute in all of FBS. So what do we see? Do we see a pinball game breakout late first quarter? In that case, you can go ahead and start writing the obituary for Kentucky. But we could see the alternative play out, in which case it's just a slugfest. And Tennessee kind of gets drawn into playing a game they're not really interested in playing. I keep coming back to Hendon Hooker at quarterback, as do many people who have watched him this year. Because even if my mind starts to go down the road of thinking about the Kentucky upset, I just go back to the fact that you got to beat that guy. I know you got Will Levis over there, but you got to beat Hendon Hooker. And see, the problem is they're not one-dimensional. A lot of these programs with a quarterback that puts up video game numbers, they're one-dimensional, and that's not Tennessee. Tennessee is averaging 4.6 yards per carry this year. Now, that may not be a mind-blowing statistic, but it is when you can throw the ball like they are, because that's all you need. You don't need to be top 5 rushing. In fact, you probably couldn't be. But if you're top 25 or top 30, and you can pair it with the passing game they have, that's plenty good enough. They are the only team, Tennessee Volunteers, only team in America, averaging at least 320 through the air and 200 on the ground per game. If you didn't run the numbers there, I ran them for you. They're averaging over 500 yards per game. And that is a really, really good number to be averaging. By the way, somehow they're averaging a higher yards per carry number in SEC play than they are in overall play. I mentioned Kentucky's off a bye here. Why does that matter? Well, obviously it matters because they're rested. But also, theoretically, you get a team's fastball coming out of the bye week. And I think that if they can have their best rushing performance this year, and it may not be that statistically it's the best, because Tennessee has a pretty good rushing defense, if they can do enough to make Tennessee respect it, just respect my ability to run the ball, Will Levis could have himself an okay afternoon. But I keep coming back to what it takes to beat Tennessee, not just cover. What does it take to beat them? And I don't think Kentucky has that. I don't think they have the firepower. Because let's be real now. Let's say it's 28-28 going into the fourth quarter. Let's say it's 31 all midway through the through the fourth quarter. Does anyone really think that Hendon Hooker and that offense will not get the job done in crunch time? Knowing what's at stake, and knowing the conversations they're in now, I just don't. I don't believe that. And so let's take a look at what the model thought. Kentucky at Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 12.5 right now. We've only got Tennessee minus 10.5 in the model. And so I'm going to do something here that's the least risky thing one could do. I actually think Kentucky may be the one who dictates that rhythm a little bit early on. I think they're going to hang around. I think they will have taken advantage of that bye week. I think you'll get their best performance of the year. I don't think it'll be enough to beat Tennessee. but I actually do think they may sneak around and cover here. And sneak is the key word, because it could be using vulture mode. They could be down 17 a majority of the fourth quarter and just sneak in that back door. But I'm going to take Tennessee to win. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover. Right now, Tennessee is still a plus 500 to win the SEC. That's the third best odds behind Bama and Georgia, respectively. And that, of course, will shift one way or another the following week, unless an upset happens a week prior to Tennessee at Georgia, and that would be this Saturday. So we will take Tennessee to win. We're going to take Kentucky to cover, and I think I'll have some heavy disagreement in the comment section. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.